Welcome, and welcome all for joining this great session. Our understanding of Gartner placement with focus on the Magic Quadrant, the critical capabilities for desktop as a service, and also some non-Gartner content, Rob and Ruben's view on what the heck is happening in end-user computing. So thanks all for joining. It's a pleasure to see many of you, see some known faces and known names as well. So great, thanks for joining. Hey, my name is Ruben. I'm responsible for product, so VP product, and also active in the sort of outside world on stage and helping customers and partners to better understand what we do, but also for me, better understand what's happening in the space and bringing back to Rob and to the engineering team and other colleagues. So two hats, field CTO head and VP product head, active in the end user computing space for a couple of decades, always with the feet on the ground from a technology perspective and try to understand how technology works and how it applies to customers and partners with their challenges and ideas. So it's a pleasure to work together with Rob in different ways, but also at this event. Rob, do you want to introduce yourself here?
Yeah, I'm Rob Green. I'm the president and CEO of Dizzion. I guess the co-founder as well, used to be CTO. I'm actually broadcasting out of my hotel room at AWS reInvent in Las Vegas. So been a great event for us. We've got I'm actually switching with Ruben. So I'm on stage at 4 o'clock, talking about our new AI capabilities and what we've built on top of AWS Workspaces. So super excited about getting the message out around some of the innovative things that we're doing in that space. So, but also, very happy to be here and broadcasting remotely.
Sweet. Yeah, I just returned from Sweden. That's why I couldn't be in Vegas. That doesn't work yet. To be same guy on us in two different places. Need to figure that out. But quantum computing might help in the future. You never know.
There you
But for now, Rob will do its magic, and I will do magic in different continents. All good.
go. All right, so just really quickly, we want to go over what you'll learn here. So, really the goal here is to translate Dizzion's visionary placement into a real strategic impact and understand, what it means, why it's so important to us, and why it's such a huge recognition for the work that we're doing day in and day out in the field, in engineering, in our support group, and as well as our sales and marketing. And then prepare for what's next, so browser first, as a service, AI enhanced, and multi-cloud workspaces. So we're super excited to continue to bring new products, new innovation to the market. That's really what we're good at doing, and is listening to our customers, understanding where the puck is going, and building products that meet not only today's needs but also tomorrow's.
Yeah, sweet.
So just briefly on covering off on the agenda. So we're going to really talk about digital workspace, Gartner Magic Quadrant for DaaS, Gartner Critical Capabilities for DaaS, and then the evolving DaaS landscape because it's always changing. I'll tell you that. There's always something new. So I'm gonna double click into what we do. So just really setting the stage. So this used to say we are digital virtual workspace experts. We've removed the virtual. We're digital workspace experts, and it's really understanding that the context of end-user computing doesn't just live in desktop as a service. There are laptops, millions and millions of those out there. There are fleets of those things, and really, how do we take that digital workspace concept, down into everybody? So it's not just a DaaS context; it's an everybody context. So a little bit about Dizzion. So we were founded in 2011 with a mission to make virtual desktops easy for organizations to adopt. It's really what we tout all the time is being easy, being flexible. And when we talk about those two words, a lot of people, a lot of our competition talks about being easy, but we actually deliver easy day in and day out. And that's really a core tenet of our company since the inception. So we've been in the business and been around for quite a bit. We used to say we were DaaS before there was DaaS, and that's exciting to have that history. So we acquired the Frame Desktop as a Service platform in 2023, and now that technology powers all of our new innovation. And we're super excited to continue to build out our portfolio and continue to listen to our customers and drive more value. And we're super excited. Dizzion was named as a visionary in the 2024 and 2025 Gartner Magic Quadrant for Desktop as a Service. Huge accomplishment to our entire company, and super proud of the work that we're doing, day in and day out to earn such a great recognition from Gartner. And then, the proof is always in the pudding. We're going to, sit back and talk about the critical capabilities as well. So as we double click into what products we have, so there's really three key areas. So our DaaS platform. So our DaaS platform delivers secure virtual Linux and Windows browser-enabled desktops and apps to any browser-enabled device running on public cloud or on-premise infrastructure, easily configured and managed as a service. So that's virtual apps and desktops without drama. Then we've just recently in June of this year launched Cloud PC. And Cloud PC delivers an always-on, up-to-date Windows experience on any browser-enabled device with a simple all-in monthly price per desktop or VM, and optional managed services for added peace of mind. Your Windows PC from the cloud. So think about it just as simple as a laptop. So just as easy as you manage your laptop fleet, you can manage a Cloud PC fleet. Same tools, same people, batteries included, no assembly required.
Same skills. Yeah,
Same
easy.
skills. Yep. So the Dizzion Cloud PC, users love to use, IT loves to manage, and CFOs love to approve. So it's an all-in cost. There's no calculus for managing cloud costs. It's all bundled together. And then just recently, we launched Dizzion Halo. So it's not secure enterprise browser, but it's secure every browser. So that solution secures and manages all browsers, protecting data and modern web SaaS applications on any device. So again, we're expanding outside of the virtual desktop, outside of DaaS, and bringing Halo to every digital workspace and physical workspace. And configuration is easy, and management is delivered as a service. And again, there's no additional software to download or manage. It takes control over existing Edge, Chrome, and Firefox browsers, and turns those into secure browsers. So your browser is the new security perimeter, so you got to secure it. So be mindful of that. And as we are, and we're bringing tools, again, listening to our customers and listening to their needs, and bringing new innovative products to market.
In the browsers, like for many of us, more and more people it's like the browser is the front door to access apps. And with DaaS and Cloud PC, from the ground up, it's always browser based. For us, browser is not the afterthought thought to access web, Windows and apps and desktops, but the browser is the entry point, the starting point to access these Windows apps. And with the frame technology for DaaS and Cloud PC. Now the beauty with Halo is that the same mindset. The browser is the starting point not only for Windows apps but also for SaaS and web and AI apps. But then the browser becomes a security starting point with device posture check and policy enforcement and these type of things. That's where Halo really shines for SaaS, web, and AI apps, but also for like DaaS and Cloud PC to access these through the same browser. So it's a really good fit.
And it's really the innovation that we're bringing ahead and understanding that the browser is the new forefront. And we thought that since the inception. So browser first is not just a moniker; it's how we build products, and we've got to secure the browser, right? It's our entry point as well as many other SaaS application entry points. So keeping it moving. So Ruben, you want to kind of give us a little insight on what Gartner thinks about virtual desktops and the whole digital workspace world?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, there's a very interesting quote both in the MQ and in the Magic Quadrant MQ and the CC, the critical capabilities, where they sort of they make these two quotes, like where they predict that, especially on the cost efficient side, that there's like a massive growth on that as well. So a lot of more use cases will benefit of using virtual desktops, and also from a cost efficient perspective, it becomes more and more cost efficient. A different reason for that could be on the endpoint itself, more like zero clients, thin clients. It could also be on the host side, being more cost efficient on that side. So there are different ways where the total solution is much more cost efficient than it was in the past, and that also applies to simplicity with Cloud PC. It also goes back into how can we make it more cost efficient? Flat rate pricing, could be cost efficient, but also helps in sort of budgeting and discussions around budgeting and planning. And then the second quote is more like more use cases will be unlocked with virtual desktop. So in both scenarios, you can read between the lines, there's growth in, well, call it virtual desktop space, with like DaaS, desktop as a service, and cloud PC. And it also goes back to another interesting diagram we picked up at Gartner Digital Workspace Summit, so DWS, where they presented the sort of the spending and the estimated user volumes. And what you can read here is a couple of things. Is that server-based computing, more like the traditional virtual desktop and application delivery approach, that is declining. That's sort of legacy. The traditional on-prem software with people with skills managing and setting up and maintaining the environment, that VDI infrastructure, virtual desktop infrastructure, is also declining. But that desktop as a service is growing big time. So the DaaS, the desktop as a service, that's where the growth is. And overall, this whole industry is growing, as you saw on the two earlier quotes as well. Gartner defines sort of the virtual desktop space in three different segments, like a self-assembled DaaS, a vendor-assembled DaaS, and a vendor-managed DaaS. And I just placed the two logos. So these are two like Dizzion logos. So there's nothing to do with Gartner itself, but like our DaaS offering fits in the self-assembled DaaS sort of category. And you can see where the growth is, where the Dizzion Cloud PC offering fits in the vendor-assembled DaaS. So we are the vendor. We assemble the solution. We bring both the control plane, the DaaS control plane, and as Rob mentioned as well, the workload machines combined into one offering, Cloud PC offering. We have two flavors of Cloud PC, like Core and Complete, where we, with Complete, add additional managed services on top of the already simple Cloud PC. So that's where like Cloud PC fits. And then the vendor managed DaaS is where like fully managed service providers add value and then bring that service to their clients, like big telcos or big MSPs in the US or in like Europe. They use DaaS or they use Cloud PC. They add their own managed service on top of that, maybe even first line support, and then bundle that. And sometimes they call it like desktop as a service as well. So it's always good when someone talks about DaaS, double check what they really mean with DaaS. Is it device as a service, or is it database as a service, or is it desktop as a service, or what's the context? Always good to double check before you go deeper into that conversation.
Yeah, I was talking this morning, and someone asked, "Do you do physical desktop as a service?" I'm like, "No,
yeah, that's the device as a service one." I remember I'm a little bit off script here, but I remember probably like two and a half years ago, I was introduced to talk about vision and strategy and roadmap for DaaS. So I was fully geared up and prepped and enthusiastic and excitement, and then someone asked me like, "Hey, but how do you bring the devices into the shredder as well?" What do you mean? Well, after 4 years, the devices are not being used anymore. So how do you bring them back into like the life cycle of devices? So you're talking about device as a service and not desktop as a service. Okay, thanks. So
different DaaS.
Different DaaS, exactly. Alrighty, going back to the track, the track around MQ and critical capabilities. So this is where where you can see where we are in the grand scheme of things. We're really excited that we are positioned as visionary. The process of MQ started in early this year, where we didn't have launched Cloud PC, as Rob mentioned. We didn't launch Halo, although that's not DaaS, but it does help in the grand scheme of things around vision. And also we didn't launch Overwatch, which is like an entry point or starting point into the DAX space. So really curious how this landscape will look like somewhere next year. But nevertheless, it's great to be listed here in that visionary quadrant, and it's really an achievement, as Rob also mentioned, for engineering teams, but also for partners and customers adopting the platform, the solution. And a little bit later, we'll go deeper into the platform and how we are different. But it's good to like recognize where Dizzion sits and also like where the ambitions are. And ambition is to be in the leader quadrant, and we have a great plan to execute on that and be there.
So, as we look at the Gartner Magic Quadrant, Ruben, how should IT leaders interpret Dizion's visionary position in the Magic Quadrant, and what does this mean for their long-term DaaS strategy?
Yeah, so like the visionary position provides a signal that we are leading in the areas where DaaS and also Cloud PC combined, but where DaaS is shifting towards to. That's simplicity. As you mentioned, every vendor will say we're simple until you really start using the solution. And then you find out, well, it's not as simple as they say on paper. We are really simple. Like I'm in this space for 2+ decades. You're in as well. You know what others are doing and how simple or not so simple they are. So when we say we are simple, there are different ways to show and tell that we are really different and simple. So simplicity is really where the puck is going. Multi-cloud flexibility. We already talked about browser first access. From day one, we started with browser first access, not as an afterthought or as plan B or as a backup plan, as all the other VDI, DaaS, and Cloud PC vendors have. Yes, they have a browser access approach, but not a browser first access approach. So from their perspective, the browser is always a backup plan with limited capabilities. For us, it's like the plan with very rich capabilities. And also it's heading into like AI assistant operators. And Rob is presenting that at reInvent as an example with Dizzion Ray. Yeah, there's much more to tell about that, but since the focus is on DaaS, I would say multi-cloud, simplicity, browser first, AI assisted operations, digital employee experience. These are all the like elements where we are well positioned, and that's also where we are positioned as a visionary. So that's and what does it mean? Well, that we are on the right track to execute on that strategy. Not like, hey, we will execute. No, we are executing on that strategy right now. And there's a roadmap to add even more and add more value and unlock new use cases. But we are on the right track, and that's also great to see that Gartner recognizes that, placing us in the visionary quadrant.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I think it's a part of, number one, being visionary means that we're listening to our customers and we're responding. And I think, that responding part is sometimes taken for granted. A customer comes to us and has a problem, they need a new feature. In a few weeks, it's there, right? It doesn't fall into dev null. I was speaking to a potential customer, over drinks at the bar at an event, and he was like, one of my biggest challenges is support. I need a feature, I need some help, and it goes months and months and months, and that's really, what being visionary means. We listen to our customers, and we then develop products that resonate with those customers, and takes that simplicity to the next level. Yeah. And continue to drive simplicity into everything that we do and deliver on that. So, from a, what does it mean for an IT leader's, long-term strategy is like, what boat do you want to be on, right? Do you want to be on the boat that's kind of status quo and you have to bolt on a bunch of stuff in order to make it work and make it work effectively, or build your own stuff? Again, talking to another, customer on the AWS side, they've built so much around it over years and years and years. They've taken 7, 8 years to deliver, what we do every day. So I think that's the aspect. Do you want to take all the building blocks and put them all together yourself? And then with that, sure, there's opportunity to innovate and opportunity to customize, but there's also a lot of risk in that. Risk of failure, risk of lack of scale, risk of people leaving. I mean, we all know, folks constantly leave different organizations. So it's good to trust a vendor that's really there in terms of adding new features on a rapid clip that's going to actually accelerate your long-term strategy across multiple fronts. And I think that's an important aspect of what we deliver every single day, and how we continue to drive IT leaders actually accomplishing their strategy.
Yeah. Sorry, Rob.
No
Getting
worries.
emotional.
See, I touched his heart.
Let's see how the voice will do.
Yeah, there you
I was
go.
sipping on my tea and getting emotional while you speak. All
I have
good.
a
All jokes
tendency of
aside.
making people move. See, I'm moving the audience already. All right.
Good. Okay, let's let's move into the second of the three buckets. So the first bucket was MQ, and the second bucket is like CC. So I would say, if I summarize, like MQ is like product vision, but also sales and like the customer connection. The beauty on the critical capabilities is much more towards a platform, the technology and the use cases of the platform itself. So there are two, I would say, big assets, big documents on the Gartner side, MQ and CC. And yeah, it's great to see that when you look at the different use cases where we are really well positioned. I will dive a little bit deeper into the use case in a second. But yeah, it's good to recognize the difference between critical capabilities, which is a less known document compared to the MQ. The MQ, everyone knows the Magic Quadrant for different kinds of solutions, including desktop as a service. But if you didn't see the critical capabilities yet, on Dizzion.com website, you can download the full report. And in this slide, this particular one, I will go a little bit deeper into like the use cases and also where we are positioned. So it's really very interesting, I would say, interesting in a very positive way, that we are listed. Look at these three use cases and look at these two use cases. Custom enterprise architecture, on-premises hybrid, if we go back one slide, remote worker, high security and compliance, high performance. Look where like the status quo, the legacy, Citrix and Nisa, where they are, where we are, and where the two big ones like Amazon, like AWS and Microsoft are. And it's very like encouraging from a product perspective that we are listed in this particular position. And what Gartner is doing to get to this position is that they ask a lot of different questions about the product, how things work. They ask for videos to prove. There are interviews with customers as well, and then they combine that and they define, okay, these are the 5 different use cases. And when you're a Gartner client, you can also create your own use case. You could say, hey, for me, compliance is a specific use case, and then you can select, I would say, 30 or so different sort of items, and you have your own slider to define, hey, this particular topic is important for me for my use case, to see who of the vendors in this particular landscape, where they will be placed. So these are like the pre-canned 5 use cases, and it makes sense where hybrid multi-cloud, our own remote protocol, simplicity, a lot of flexibility. Of course, there are APIs both for the admin side and for the user side. There's an MCP server as well. There's a lot of different things you can do in a toolbox. But even without that sort of complex API stuff, it's really like straightforward to set up the environment for remote workers, for high performance computing, for high-end graphics, in LAN and WAN. Yeah, the product itself is rock solid and unlocks many use cases, as you can see here and in this slide as well. It's good to go deeper into that, see how things progress on that side.
Yeah, I just want to make just a quick comment on that. And if you look at kind of how we land on critical capabilities, we're definitely punching above our weight class, and I love that.
Yeah,
that creates an opportunity for us to not only accomplish and win customers, obviously, but also to influence others, right? We look at the broader end-user computing ecosystem. We want to continue to innovate. We want to continue to drive innovation. And if we drive others to innovate, that's great, because ultimately it comes down to the end user and the end user's use cases and making sure that they are able to work. And that's ultimately what end user computing is all about, is making sure end users can actually do their work and do their work very effectively. And the more vendors we have, kind of coming together and driving that innovation, the better off those end users are going to be. So at the center of it, it's the users.
Yep.
So I'll ask another question, because I'm going to interview Ruben. So where does Dizzion create differentiated value compared to Citrix, Omnissa, AWS, and Microsoft? And how does that advantage translate into better outcomes?
Yeah. The beauty of this market is that you work together and you compete. And especially on the AWS and Microsoft side, you work together very closely, and sometimes you compete. That's healthy. Competition is healthy. Keeps everyone sharp and on their toes, so that's a good thing. And the benefit is that, well, it provides choice, it provides innovation and movement in the right direction. If I look at the sort of legacy vendors, especially on the Citrix and Omnissa side, I think their biggest challenge and our biggest advantage, and also advantage for our partners and customers, is that they they have a massive backpack of features, functions, and options. On one side, it's an advantage because a lot of options could say, well, now I can really create like an tailor-made suit for someone. But the downside is that it's a lot of options with a massive backpack, and you need to really understand how it works. Complexity is not the direction we believe is the right direction customers are heading to. So for us, we look at these two vendors. Yeah, they are in this game for a long time, and that complexity is also their legacy. And simplicity is the angle we took from day one, and is what we focus on with Cloud PC, with DaaS, with Halo and other products. So that's where we really differentiate. And as we mentioned before, like every vendor will say, well, we are simple, sure, but just get your hands dirty and work with the solution. And just in like two simple examples on our side to highlight like two simple topics where we are different in simplicity. If I want to enable persistent Windows user profiles, it becomes a little bit more technical right now. Not super technical, but a little bit technical. So I want to have the user profile, the Windows user profile, where documents and favorites and wallpapers, that's all part of the Windows user profile. I want to keep that persistent in a pooled, in a non-persistent environment. That's not rocket science. That's what we do for the last 10 years, 20 years, 25 years, long time. What we build is with one click, you enable enterprise profiles, and this enterprise profiles will create a disk, a container, and in that disk, the full user profile is attached. It will attach at log on, it will detach at log off. There's no impact in log on or log off performance. And the disk is stored on the same storage platform as the VM for that virtual desktop is stored as well. So no file server, no file shares, no high availability discussions, no access control list, just super simple. You enable it, one slider, enterprise profiles enabled. And there's like backup and restore. There's like an auto growth with guardrails, all built in with one slider. Sure, that's one simple example how you can make a complex Windows user profile conversation very simple. And if you look at another example where we provide streaming gateway appliance, our solution for secure access through the frame remoting protocol from the user with a browser to their workload machine, a desktop or app or apps. The streaming gateway appliance is deployed, could be automatically deployed. You create a node, a cluster of 3 nodes. There's no load balancer needed, no additional cost needed, no NetScaler, no NetScaler CVEs, no F5 or whatever complex node scaler needed. The nodes will communicate to our backplane. The backplane will handle the load balancing. Availability is taken care of. There's no certificates in place. There's DTLS, part of the WebRTC protocol in place. So make it super simple as well. No one can forget to renew the certificate. So yeah, another simple example where simplicity is king, and that's like overall one of the big differentiators. Besides hybrid multi-cloud, as we mentioned, besides like remoting protocol, besides support, as Rob mentioned. So yeah, different angles to look at that.
I would double click on that. By the way, that's one of my favorite features of our platform because I spent years and years and years, managing, secure gateways, UAGs, going out and manually installing them and going through the process of making sure every year thousands and thousands of them were updated from a certificate. It was a whole thing. And now, what we've done is we've taken that and literally click a button, the appliance gets automatically installed, automatically deployed, and no load balancer, none of that complexity. All that stuff is removed. It's so simple, and that's really what we mean about delivering on the promise of simpler, right? And I think one of the other key differentiators here when you compare us against legacy is that legacy was born on physical servers and in a virtualized and then moved to virtualization, but the same core constructs remained, right? You still did things a certain way on a server by server basis, but moving that into cloud, it takes a lot of bloat. It's no different from when users were adopting cloud and moving SQL servers in mass amounts over into the cloud, and they were wondering, wow, my is really high. Well, yeah, because you're moving actual physical servers with operating systems and licensing and and all the while you're running it versus just running and adopting the cloud service. Well, the same construct applies with DaaS, right? So as we go in and we go look at a lot of the legacy VDI, they have multi-session. Well, multi-session, you have a big server, you have a bunch of users, and typically lower cost per unit, sure, but the user experience sucks. No one likes it, right? But it's a concept that then got moved into cloud, and now you have a server that's always on, even if there's just one user session running on it, right? We took a completely different approach, right? We leveraged the value and the capabilities of cloud to scale up these micro instances, make sure that we protect the end user experience, and then from a cost basis, it's roughly the same amount, but you get better experience and better results, and again, driving down to that impact. So that's one of the biggest, I guess, mind shifts is dropping some of that legacy mindset, just no different from how we moved from virtualization to cloud. Those same things are not as efficient. So really driving that adoption and that innovation, to get a better outcome for end users is critical, because at the end, and I'll keep saying it over and over again, end users they matter, and they matter more than anyone else because they're the ones using the actual technology. So how do we delight those end users and deliver a consistent, and responsive interface so they can do their jobs?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what I like about this whole space, that these topics we cover in a couple of minutes, there's so much else to talk about as well. When you look at DaaS and Cloud PC, VDI, but also physical PC. The biggest competitor is not Citrix versus Omnissa, or Omnissa versus Microsoft, or Microsoft versus Dizzion, or whatever the combination is. The biggest competitor is the physical PC with web and SaaS apps, with maybe Windows apps delivered in a different way. So that's the biggest competitor for the overall DaaS Cloud PC industry. That's why we started with the two Gartner quotes, where you can see there is growth, and there's like a very cost efficient way to deliver Windows and desktops in a truly simplified fashion. But also like SASE, secure enterprise browsers, AI, virtual reality, digital employee experience, user experience, and many other sort of acronyms fly left and right into the atmosphere. And especially if vendors are talking about that, you see a lot of acronyms here. But wouldn't it be great if there's a framework that helps customers and partners navigate the complexity of end-user computing? And end-user computing is not only desktop as a service, cloud PC, or virtual desktop infrastructure. End-user computing is the whole umbrella term, end-user computing. It's everything we need to get work done, to be pleased with the tools and the topics we can do to get our work done on a day-by-day basis. And it's a complex environment. There's a lot of things happening here. It's a very exciting environment as well, but it can be very complex and like a big plate of spaghetti where it's tough to find the nice meatballs in the plate of spaghetti. So that's why we built an EUC end-user computing HexaGrid with 6 major EUC categories. So it starts with EUC, and EUC is about me, not Ruben, Netherlands, married, 3 kids, or Rob, living in the US, and so on. No, EUC starts with me, the business consumer, as Rob mentioned. That's the center point of EUC. That's why we have these solutions, to help our colleagues and also ourselves, because we are also end users of technology. So EUC HexaGrid starts with me, the end user. Then 6 major EUC categories, 27 subcategories, and 280 plus vendors in that matrix. And the matrix looks roughly like this. It's I will share a high quality infographic that makes a lot of sense if you want to zoom in, zoom out. But this is how the HexaGrid looks like. In the center, it's EUC with the 6 major categories, and 27 in orange here, the subcategories. And the goal of the EUC HexaGrid is to explain what is the value of end-user computing. Like the center, what is EUC? How do you build an EUC strategy? That's why the 6 subcategories kick in. And then if you zoom in, for instance, on virtual desktops and apps, the one in orange here, this one here, then you can say, okay, how does a landscape of virtual apps and desktops, how does a landscape look like? There's VDI, there's DaaS, there's DaaS Cloud Service Providers, there's DaaS Cloud PC, There's desktop hypervisor, all fit in the category virtual desktops and applications. What's the value of DaaS? What's the value of Cloud PC? How are they different? And then you go deeper into, okay, who are the vendors in a particular subcategory? What kind of offering do they have, and how are they different? So that's really like an infographic which can be used on different levels, like very high level or very low level, depending on who the audience is, to talk about what is happening in our space. And that's the reason why we built the EUC HexaGrid. Yeah, so if I zoom in here a little bit for a second, you can see, a little bit what is happening here. We can do a full hour webinar just on the HexaGrid itself. That's not the purpose, but the purpose is to explain. There is a framework to explain the complexity and also explain who is doing what in this beautiful world called EUC. If you want to download the HexaGrid, that's the infographic, that's the QR code, or go to Dizzion.com and go to resources, you will find the HexaGrid as well. And there's also a white paper where on different levels, EUC, 6 pillars, 27 sub-pillars, where each of these topics are explained in Sesame Street simple text, so that you or your colleagues or peers understand what's happening in the EUC space. So yeah, that's what I would like to highlight here, since we talk about thought leadership and insights, what's happening in our space. So
And
I'll go ahead.
I love that. I love that infographic because it shows how vast the EUC space is, and there's hundreds and hundreds of products out there. How do you, as an IT leader, discern, which ones are relevant to which areas,
Yeah.
which ones overlap? So it's a very clear map, and I just love that.
And you can also use it as Mythbuster as well. Some of the
Yes.
vendors tried to create like some cloudy, some fog, some like FUD, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, it helps also like, hey, who is where and who is doing what as well. So yeah. Hey, Rob, I'm curious on your thoughts. Like, hey, what are the latest developments in EUC? You're at re:Invent. You're also passionate about end user computing. You see what's happening. You talk to customers a lot. What are developments in EUC, and what kind of value do they create for organizations? And organizations, from our perspective, are both customers and partners. Both are customers. A partner is customer as well for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I get a unique perspective because I'm at re:Invent, and re:Invent is all about new things coming up. But I think one of the key undertones of this, and I think just about any major tech conference, is AI,
Mm-hmm.
and the transformation of AI and the rapid adoption of AI. What you could do, a year ago with AI has probably quadrupled, now, and it's just been 1 year. So I think it's a ripe opportunity for us to really rethink kind of how we leverage AI. And one of the things I'm very proud of, that we've done is actually built basically agentic AI into our desktop. And that's a new product, our AI Cloud PC, which will come out in Q1. And it's really, again, it's aligning with where the industry is going. So obviously AI making, users, better, faster, smarter, stronger in terms of everything that they do. And I think one unique, perspective that I'd share here is that all those legacy apps, I think there's opportunity for now to get budget to take those legacy apps and turn them into modern applications, leveraging AI. You'll get budget, number one, because AI is top of mind for everybody. So I think this is a great opportunity to really embrace AI, and to and to start to see where areas of your business and your users' experience can really be enhanced by AI. So one of the things I'm talking about today is how do we give users, and whether they be admins or end users, an Iron Man suit, right? So you can actually just get better, right? We're not replacing the person. We're giving them tools to do, 10, 20 times, 100 times more, and not necessarily feel the burden. So I think AI is a leverage point for us, to go faster, so work smarter, not harder. So I think that's a known thing across, but I think not just AI for the perspective of, hey, I want to ask a cool question, I want to write my email, but it's really embracing AI in core elements. So think about your day to day. one of the things I'm going to be demoing today with Ask Ray, which is our agentic AI, is the ability for it to, take something very complex and then, ask and solve it, right? Whether that be a troubleshooting, whether it be a cost management thing, or simply I just want to find a file on my desktop and I want to open that file, right? I want to open the right file. Those types of things, those types of tools that really empower the end user, empower the admins to do more and to do it safer. And I think that's one of the unique things that's resonating for folks that have heard my story and talking about our AI journey is really about how we're delivering safe and secure AI so the data never leaves the desktop. So if you think about the proliferation of Chat GPT and Claude and all the other tools out there, there's so much data leaving your desktop, right? And there's a lot of security, tools that are trying to come around and lock that in, but at the expense of the end user. See, the end user wants the tool. So how do we deliver those tools, those AI native tools that don't necessarily, share your data out into the ether? So I think that's a great opportunity to again add value, really embrace AI, but not just at the surface. Go deeper
Yeah. Yeah.
into AI, and really find new ways of again giving your people that Iron Man suit.
It feels like the agents are like the helpers. You add just a bunch of helpers to your daily activities. We are helping you. That these are like the agents, like that's why Ray kicks in. Ray is like sunlight, a sun ray, but also Ray is like an individual agent doing work for you. So helpers or minions, whatever you want to call it.
I
And also
need some
that
minions to go through my email
see,
because
yes. And also what I also picked up when you mentioned that I almost call like co-pilot local because
Mhm.
everything remains local, like really local. There's no network traffic to any sort of vendor somewhere in where your data is stored. Your data remains local on device, but also local in your own network. So that's another like
Yeah.
strong option on that one.
Well, and that's what freaks, CISOs out, right? You've got so you've got all these great tools, but they're outside of your perimeter, right?
Yeah,
So then you're trusting someone else, right? These vendors to protect your data. But what if you could actually do that inside of the desktop construct, and
sure.
data never leaves and that AI agent's learning what you as a user are doing, and it starts
Yeah.
to anticipate in your needs, right? But it has contextual awareness of you as an individual without sharing your data and impacting, and others who are using it. So I think
Or maybe using like just NLP and just chat, natural language process, like, hey, find me out XYZ. And then an agent will launch a cloud PC, will do its magic in that cloud PC, even running like legacy apps, which are never designed for AI, do their magic with these legacy apps, and then provide feedback back through the same chat interface. Like, hey, I found the data you were looking for, or I updated whatever you needed in the application itself. So the agent, the helper or helpers, that's where like agentic AI comes from. So that's and
that's it.
these agents still need a workspace and apps in the workspace to get work done, especially
Yeah.
with legacy apps. Yeah,
Yeah, and I think that's one of the areas that we are super, poised to add massive value because we're browser first, we're digital natives, if you will, API integration. So we align very well with that construct. So if you've got an agent that's meant to do some work from a task perspective, they can literally
yeah,
start a desktop session, log into a desktop session, operate in the desktop session all programmatically. And I think that, and scale up and scale down. So we used to call it robotic process, RPA, right? Automation.
yeah.
And I think that that's going to go to a whole new level in terms of what these agents can do. They can actually log in and do work from a virtual desktop. And I think that's powerful.
Yeah, yeah. What else? What I see happening as well. Well, we can talk about what's happening for an hour, but just a couple of things. Like if you just read the news, a shortage and therefore a price increase on RAM and SSD because of AI, impacting like local PCs. So somewhere in time, these local PCs will become like really like much more expensive. than they sometimes already are. So maybe the topic here is like rethink device strategy. Do I really need a new device every 3-4 years? Or do I repurpose an existing device or just use another type of device like a thin client or a zero client device or a Raspberry Pi for certain use cases to access my environment, even if it's browser based or even if it's like a jump board to Cloud PC or DaaS. Many of these devices are like totally fine and suited for like even like high-end graphics experience, because the real like horsepower comes from machines in cloud, and
Yeah.
that's where the growth is. That's where we can leverage also from a DaaS and Cloud PC perspective what's happening in that particular space. So rethink device strategy, not only on the OS side but also on the device hardware side. And decouple like the hardware and device strategy from the execution strategy, the DaaS Cloud PC scenarios. That's one item. We already talked about like Workspace AI at length. I also had RPA in my mind when you look at developments. But also another one is like we talked about Cloud PC multiple times, but one of the beautiful things with Cloud PC, it unlocks a complete new market, a market where you don't need like VDI or DaaS ninjas or VDI experts. It's a market where people just swipe their credit card, use buy now on the website, and say, well, I want to buy 50 Cloud PCs, maybe for just 3 months because I have a project to run, or maybe for like three years because I want to get rid of my PCs and just want to use the browser who is installed on every machine and use the browser to access my Cloud PC. So Cloud PC unlocks a complete new market. Microsoft is super active in that space, and it's great to be active in that space because it lifts everyone up. If Microsoft is sort of emphasizing Cloud PC, everyone knows, Cloud PC. You're in the Cloud PC business. You sir, you're in that particular space. Yes, we are. So rising tides lifts all boat. That also applies to Cloud PC on the Dizzion side, where we provide simplicity on that. When you look at DEX, digital employee experience, it's a fast-moving landscape with Nextthink and Control Up and EG and many others in that space. But we also we started entering that space with Overwatch. And Overwatch in its current form is observability and analytics. It's built into the platform, so no additional Splunk or database or infrastructure cost in general. It's just baked into the platform in the DaaS and Cloud PC platform, and ready to be used. And what I find interesting in that space is that I think Nextthink had like $3 billion investment announced 3 weeks ago, something like that. TeamViewer acquired 1E for $740 million earlier this year. So there's a lot of investment and movement happening in the DEX landscape. So DEX is super important because it ties directly into user experience, and as we mentioned a couple of times already, it starts with me, the end user, and my experience in accessing apps and desktops. And then finally, it's also about remoting protocols. And that sounds a little bit odd, like super technical topic. But remoting protocol is sort of the engine to deliver apps and desktops as a service. That's the streaming engine, Pixel streaming engine, with frame remoting protocol, a browser-based, browser-focused remoting protocol, but also Microsoft RDP and Citrix HDX and Omnissa Blast and others. And that sort of war, not really war, but that sort of debate, like who's doing what, how are the protocols doing in certain configurations, that is still an ongoing thing because the apps have changed, the expectations we have from a virtual app and desktop environment is changing. So the protocol needs to change as well to achieve what the user has in mind and what they expect. And there's an interesting study which finished like 2 weeks ago from now, 2 weeks ago, like earlier in November. It's on drtrich.com, where Benny Trich did compare frame, RDP, and HDX with each other. And I will not spoil his beans because he did an independent study. But it's great to see there is like a battle between these protocols. It's great to see where we land in different network scenarios with different applications and so on. So give it a read, Dr. Trich, drtrich.com. Search for FRP or RDP or HDX. you will find the article. And otherwise, contact me or Rob. We'll happy to share the article as well. So yeah, different investments and developments happening in remoting protocols, like a very technical topic, much more technical topic than the other topics. So yeah, I'm passionate about end user computing, including remoting protocols, including secure enterprise browser, including DAX. Yeah, it's an awesome place to work in for sure.
Absolutely. So, we'll jump into next steps. As we wind down our presentation, hopefully you guys got something out of it. In terms of, we're super proud to be part of the Visionary Quadrant and named in that. We're super proud of the work that the team is doing. Again, punching above our weight class in the critical capabilities, and winning, and showing that and sharing that with our customers, but also making sure that we are reiterating our commitment to end users. Our commitment is to making their lives easier, and delighting them in every day. That's why we build products. Again, that's why we build the thought leadership around the HexaGrid. It's all about the end user, and I'm excited that we got an opportunity to share. So next steps is really try it for yourself. If you go to www.dizzion.com/try now, or go to try.dizzion.com, you can actually go and be on a desktop in about 5 minutes. In anywhere in the world, literally. We're super excited about Try Now. Sometimes seeing is believing.
Yep.
Sometimes you don't understand how simple it is until you actually try it. So try.dizzion.com is the easiest way to kick the tires, and see for yourself how we're redefining how the world works, in every day in everything that we do. All right.
Also, just can I add a quick note, Rob, to Try Now? So right now, Try Now is CPU based, like a 4 CPU, 16 gigs of RAM, running Windows. In not 5 minutes, but in 15 seconds, you'll be ready with your own browser to run the session. Maybe the 5 minutes is what you need to fill in a short form. But that's not 5 minutes, but nevertheless, it's fine. We get the point. But what I want to highlight here is that Try Now by default is globally, so 2 regions, US, 1 in Europe, 1 in Asia, 4 different infrastructure providers you can select from, but these are all CPU based. If you have a use case where you have GPUs, designers in general, or maybe AI practitioners, and these use cases will be unlocked with GPU, feel free to reach out. We can unlock Try Now also with NVIDIA GPUs. It's not exposed publicly, but with a very easy to create indentation code, we're happy to support you with your testing in Try Now with NVIDIA GPUs as well. So feel free to contact us, and happy to unlock that use case.
Absolutely.
With that, I would say thank you. Thanks, Rob. Thanks all for joining. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.
All right.
Thanks, Rob. Well done. See you.
Thank you.